Let's just see if it kicks in. Hi, Barry. Thanks for spending time with us, and thanks for joining us. And yes, we really appreciate it. Just tell us who and what you hope to be, where you are from, and so forth, so that we can catch up to see who you are.
Okay, cool. Thanks very much for the opportunity, Nico. Just a short bit about myself. I started off studying in civil engineering sometime last century. That was with Savage and Lovemore, so it was on the construction side of things. I then moved across to consulting, got a bit of experience on that side of it as well, and then returned back to contracting with Power Construction with their paving unit. That's their asphalt paving unit. It was called Blitz Asphalt in those days. Then I needed to study a bit further, so I returned to tech, studied my BTech, and also lectured at the same time for about 10 or 11 years. And during that time, I started developing courses for the Asphalt Academy, which is the training arm of Sabita. And I think that's where my interest in material testing really kicked off. I then moved back to consulting. Didn't stay around there for too much longer because Asphalt Academy approached me and asked me to come on a full-time basis, contract-wise, to present the courses, the material testers courses through the SADC region and throughout South Africa. And I basically then started my own business called Learning Matters ETC, for ETC being education, training and consulting. Since then, it's actually expanded into a whole lot of other regions. I'm a technical assessor with SANAS for lab accreditation under 17025. I also assist laboratories in that training environment, in getting them on board with 17025. I sit as the chair for the NLA South Africa's MAT Civils, which is the civil testing environment of which ASPASA is a member. And also I chair the ASPASA's technical committee, which we'll chat about a bit later. I get involved in material disputes. I also assist SABS in putting together all the new 3001 test methods and also the revision of TMH5, the sampling methods, and 1083, which is under quite a bit of review at the moment. I was also involved in COTO and some of the Sabita manuals. We've developed the certification process for laboratory technicians or testers under ISO 17024. So there's a process by which we can actually now give the guys who do the testing some form of it's not a qualification, but we can certify them that they're competent. I'm also involved in the National Proficiency Testing Scheme for National Laboratory Association, where I do assistance with the prep of the samples, splitting it, packaging, sending it off, and then the full statistical analysis and report writing of it, and a bit of private consulting when there's a bit of free time. So that's about it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. Thanks, Barry. The next step I would like to ask you is, what are the challenges that you see from where you sit out there and in the industry? Won't you just cover a few of those?
Yeah, obviously besides Corona, which has taken us for a bit of a six during this year, there are a number of challenges that I see in the testing industry. Firstly, I think there's a huge misunderstanding or a misconception around what the engineers and the contractors actually see from the laboratory's perspective and how important it is for them. One could possibly say that laboratories are way undervalued at this particular point. I think it's changed quite a bit recently, but everybody's always pushing for a quicker result. It's also always got to pass because then everyone's happy. And there's a lot of pressure in the laboratory environment to actually produce the results in this particular format. Both the parties, both the engineers and the contractors, don't actually understand what goes on inside the laboratory. What the test methods consist of, what can go wrong. Remember, at the end of the day, the contractor wants the material approved because the engineer will then actually do the payment for it. And if anything goes wrong in the laboratory, they're possibly the very first people that actually pick up the slack. So civil engineering is also known as a highly variable type of material that is utilized in it. So sampling becomes a critical aspect that is really challenging. Obtaining a sample that is representative or as closely representative as possible for a portion of work so that the engineer can make the approval to pay or not to pay needs to be done by people that understand the process, understand the variability, are as experienced as possible, and also competent in that regard. You can't just walk onto a site, onto a stockpile, take a couple of spadefuls from a couple of random places and hope to get something that's actually representative. So I think, yeah, it's a lot more complex than that. That's the sampling side of it. So I think that's maybe one of the major challenges, that we can sort out the issues around sampling and leave that to the laboratories to do. I think a lot of the issues that we have, or some of the issues that we have in the lab testing environment, will actually disappear.
Thanks. That's great, and yeah, nice summary. What do you see very positive in the industry, and what are the good things that we tend to be doing, or yeah, that's happening?
You know, I'm one of the guys that possibly tends to see the cup half full as against half empty. So my feeling is that there are plenty of positives in the environment that we find ourselves in right now. The implementation of 17025 a good number of years ago, it was an initiative driven by SANRO, or the roads agency, has actually assisted in making the labs look at the way they do their work a lot differently. So I believe that it has assisted in improving the quality. I think over the last 10 years, the lab environment has changed quite drastically from the way we used to see it and the way it used to be perceived. And there are huge strides also in improving the overall ability to test accurately. There are absolutely still problems in the industry, without a doubt, but the statistical analysis that I've recently done on the results that come out of the proficiency testing scheme through the NLA, where we've got about 85 participants there. We run 10 rounds a year. They have actually shown that the accredited laboratory statistical analysis is actually better than what you've got if you've got a non-accredited laboratory. I think the certification process as well for the laboratory testers under ISO 17024, which should have kicked off at the beginning of this year, around about April, which was obviously kicked sideways by Corona. That's at a point now where we're almost ready to roll it out. So beginning of 2021, my feeling is that's going to be up and running. So that's another step that we're heading towards to actually improve the quality of what's being done in the laboratory. And then also the new COTA spec. There's a huge emphasis now on quality assurance as against quality control. If you look at the difference between chapters 4 and 5, where 4 will approve the material at the place where it's manufactured, whether it's a borrow pit or a commercial facility, before it goes to site. And then the responsibility will change from the supplier to the contractor. And I think that's going to be a game changer in the industry, especially from ASPASA's perspective. So those are the positive points that I see at this particular point.
Right, thanks. And then just maybe what we as the industry body should be doing, what we are doing well, and just a general view of what we use it ASPASA plays out there.
ASPASA is an organization that I've actually been aware of for many years. Previously, when we had the split between the Bituminous Materials Liaison Committee and the Concrete Institute, it merged together to form the Road Pavements Forum, RPF, and ASPASA came along at that particular point in time and joined into that. And I thought it was a very good strategic move. For many years, the quarrying environment was seen as a bit of a problem child. And I think largely because of the exclusion clauses, which was there to protect their own interests, but by the same token, it caused untold friction within the industry. And I think over the last couple of years, there's been a huge change in the way ASPASA is being perceived. I think that's being improved even further now with a three-pronged approach they've got on their audits, with the health and safety audit, the environmental audit, and now the new quality or technical audit that's being run out or rolled out as well. Also, should have started off at the beginning this year with 17024, but it was given a little bit of a sidekick. So those types of initiatives to improve the quality inside ASPASA for their members is actually a very good strategic move. The drive for quality within ASPASA is a very special one from my side, mainly because it's actually not a statutory requirement. If you look at health and safety, you look at environmental, that's statutory, you have to conform to that. But at the end of the day, if ASPASA members start looking towards drive own in-house quality, that is going to change the way they actually look at how things are done. We look at the last technical committee meeting as well, where Kobus van der Walt from Sandro actually even commented on the fact that he was really pleased as to these initiatives that ASPASA are putting on. So one of the major clients who've had issues with ASPASA is starting to say that about us. You must actually understand that ASPASA is heading in the right direction. As I mentioned in the last point as well, that whole scenario around COTA with the specification and the changes that are coming in with that Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, separating who's supplying and what happens once it arrives on site, massive game changer. And from my perspective, I would actually like to then see a move within ASPASA to actually have to ensure that that is implemented correctly, along with the contractors and the consultants on site, and then to try and see if that exclusion clause concept can't be removed because it's actually taken care of within the specification.
Barry, thanks a lot. That's well covered, I think. Anything general that you would like to say? A last thought?
Yeah, just a point on quality testing. Everyone thinks about everything revolves around a test result. The importance of payment or non-payment is all hinged around that. And the moment the result fails, it becomes a very tenuous situation. Everybody throws their toys out the cot because everybody wants the money paid over. For the engineers, it's the one item that is used both in the design from an initial perspective and in the final approval of the material. So in actual fact, if I come back to the point I raised earlier, where I said labs are not seen at an acceptable level within the industry, that is something that needs to be looked at. I believe if the engineer is at this level over here, the lab is directly below the engineer, because they provide the information that allows the engineer to make the decision. Therefore, it stands to reason that quality testing is critical and pivotal within the laboratory environment, within the civils industry. I also think it's important to understand that the laboratory organization must be run on a quality-driven basis and not on a production basis. Once a time limit is fixed for a test method, you can't run it quicker than that. If you change the way the method is done, you can't guarantee the test result is going to be correct. You also can't have one laboratory testing in a shortened manner and another one in the conventional manner, and then expect to be able to compare the results to make something reasonable out of it. So you can't test quicker. It's a fixed system that cannot be accelerated. If you want the result to come out quicker, you can't guarantee the result. There will be a loss in quality, and therefore potentially poor decisions will be made in an incorrect result that's been put forward. So you possibly pick up it's a really passionate environment from my side. It's something that I'm driven towards trying to improve, and that is to ensure that the civils laboratories, doesn't matter where they lie within the environment, whether they're there approving it for the engineers or whether they're just ensuring that the quality of the product going out from a supplier is where it needs to be, they need to ensure that that quality testing is in place and correct. We need to have the labs accredited in some form. We need to have the testers certified in some form, and we need to actually understand and actually elevate the level of where the laboratories are seen and the important role that they play in the infrastructure development within our country.
Barry, thanks a lot. That's great, and I think we as the industry and the public in general who watch these YouTube videos will learn a lot and most probably, yes, will understand what we're trying to do. But thanks for you're such a committed guy, and you do such a lot for us as the industry and for ASPASA, that there's a special word of thanks to you for being so positive and doing all this work. Sometimes it goes unseen and we don't always thank you for it. But thank you very, very much. Thanks for your time today and for your effort. And I hope you go well during the rest of this year. And then, yes, 2021, we're gonna sort out quality. and thanks, Barry. You're a star.
Excellent. Thanks very much for those kind words, Nico. Much appreciated. And yes, I'm committed to getting this to work. So 2021, bumper year, with quality as the underlying driver.
Thanks, Barry. Bye.
All the best. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Bye.